Welcome back to Awkward Insurance. For this episode, Awkward went to Vegas, where the technology and insurance industry converged for InsurTech Connect. We have a lot of nuggets to get through, but I think we found a great journey to take you on. This event was the most massive I have ever been to. But despite it all, we still ran into our most awkward fan, Jacob Galecki with Galecki Search Associates. To start our journey, let's hear Jacob's perspective on drawing parallels between the hard market in the insurance industry and talent recruitment, including addressing the popular woes of job applicant filtering.
We have 19 minutes. We better make this awkward, and we better make it awkward fast.
Awkward Insurance is at ITC Vegas, and we've run into Jacob Galecki. We run into you everywhere we go, and I love it. So I think we've decided to make you our official conference correspondent. What do you think?
I think that I will accept this heavy honor.
Fantastic. I love it. You and I were sitting here talking before we got started. And as I'm talking about the hard market from the agent side, I think you started to realize that there might be some parallel lines or some direct lines in terms of hard market and the job arena.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that?
Over the last year, as we've been in a hard market in the insurance industry, the insurance talent market has, I would say, also been hardening. Yeah, it's been paradoxical. So it's both good and bad. I think the carriers and also everyone else in the insurance ecosystem, MGAs, service providers, etc., are looking for very, very specific talent. And the I would say probably broadly, and this is I would say a problem. I don't know if this is a problem within every industry, but in the insurance industry, we are segmented to the hill.
Yeah.
Within insurance.
For
So
sure.
we were talking about this before we went on here, is that like you're in the independent agent world. I've never touched that in my 25 years of being in the insurance industry. So I'm a creature of the home office, as it were. And so I know a lot of what goes on inside the insurance company home office, but then whatever happens in the field, I don't know
Where the rubber meets the road.
Well,
Boots on the ground.
and I would wager a guess that those individuals that are out in the field, the front line of the battles that are being fought and hardly won, are probably
What are we
very
talking
little
about again?
Yeah, I would say know very little about what goes on in a home office, and so I think that
that's true.
It's hard to find broad insurance athletes, right? And I think that we're starting to see, especially like in the context of ITC, where a lot of these companies are trying to do something new, and they can really only afford maybe at first one insurance hire, right? It's like I'm a tech person. My other co-founder is a data scientist or whatever.
And they're looking for an insurance hire, is what you're
person.
saying?
Yeah, and there's like, we need an insurance person. I was like, okay, well, here's a
So
claim.
needed.
Here's a claims person. It's like, well, we don't have any policies, so we don't have any claims. I'm like, okay, here's an underwriting person. It's like, well, yeah, but now you've underwritten the policies, we have to pay claims. How do you pay claims? I don't know. I'm an underwriter.
Oh, they need a Swiss Army tool.
Yeah. And so, but
that's rare.
Yeah, it is rare. I would say almost it doesn't really exist. And so there's not a way for people to become cross-trained in the insurance industry in any meaningful way. And when they do, they work at these behemoth carriers, let's say Travelers, Liberty Mutual, Allstate, and they work there for 30 years. They might rotate into claims, underwriting, do some other things, and but then they've been steeped into this like Allstate culture,
right?
And they don't play well outside of Allstate,
right?
They walk outside of Allstate, like, I don't know how to do these things. I'm an Allstate person. Not to pick on Allstate, but
we are not an official sponsor of Allstate.
Yeah. And even when they've maybe seen a little claims and seen a little bit of underwriting, they're just not going to understand the full picture of the full insurance picture at all. I guess
So what's their solution if they can't get a Swiss Army tool and when they need one person, well, now they need a different person because they have the underwriter. Now they need the claims person.
I'll give you the advice I give everyone. If you can only hire one person, hire for what you need right this second. And guess what that means?
Oh, shucks. Okay. Yeah.
Then you get that problem solved, and then you're on to the next. And if you can only have one person, then
I don't know. Hopefully by the time you need that second person, you've expanded in some kind of way and you can bring that second person on, or I don't know. There's fractional situations where you can hire fractionally.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a solution.
Maybe.
To have a fractional underwriter or a fractional claims person, or I don't know, a moonlighter in some kind of situation, maybe. Your colleague, the beautiful Anna Kupik, brought up an interesting point as she read off social media that application tracking systems are crushing the dreams of those getting hired. And you guys had some pretty strong opinions
Oh
about how
yeah.
that is just absolutely not true, regardless of how many times we see it in social media groups. About, I've applied to what is it, like 100 different
Yeah.
places and I haven't gotten a response. What's those strong
Well,
opinions?
it's you know what? It's just so easy to apply to a job these days,
Is
right?
it?
Yeah,
Yeah, click here, apply
yeah,
here,
you go onto LinkedIn and you just press a button. The problem that we're seeing is that people think that there's these like robots that are
taking over the world.
that well, they will eventually, but we don't have to worry about that today. But today, in today's world, most insurance companies, and Anna and I both used to work at a major carrier, and the technology that we had, mind you, this was like 10 years ago, was just extremely antiquated. But I can't admit that it was antiquated for 10 years ago. And so, and guess what? I bet it's probably the same technology today, so it's that much more antiquated.
Right.
We
If we're having a hard time catching up with technology on the independent agent side, do you really think that companies are throwing a ton of money? I mean, at least most companies. I'm sure there are some that are throwing some money into these more updated systems for application processing, but I would assume that it's a slow going adoption and most people are still around thinking if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
it is extremely broke though, and I don't think they realize that. And
Okay.
so one time, at the same major carrier, I was being interviewed by HR because they were reviewing all the different roles within talent acquisition and HR. And I made a recommendation that the people who manage recruiters be put up another pay grade or two. And they said, "Oh, we can't justify that. They don't have enough scope."
Yeah.
And I said, and I leaned in and I said, explain to me how someone who manages the process that hires literally every single person that works here does not have scope.
Mm.
And then I just got a blank stare right back. And it's like they just don't understand that this is an important function. I was like, so
So if application systems aren't the problem, what is the problem?
the problem is overwork, and so I
Overwork
would say
of the
yeah.
person
In
reviewing?
general, talent acquisition groups are disregarded within any company. I could speak to insurance specifically, and are just under resourced and understaffed, and do not and now with the idea that that all applications are easy, every job is getting thousands and thousands of applications. I mean, how there's not enough time in the day to go through 1,000 applications.
Mhm.
If like and most recruiters work anywhere from
Sounds a
15.
lot like writing policies. There's
Yeah.
not enough time in the day to quote every
No.
single policy in our system because remarketing is in a hard market is like every client needs it and agencies just aren't
Yeah.
built that way. So I guess companies aren't built for reviewing every single applicant
No.
that
No, and
applies.
so
You see on LinkedIn how it's like here's a job posting and it'll say 100 people applied or 100 plus
mhm.
people and I'm thinking no freaking way.
It takes a long time to even get through 100. It takes a
How
long
do you sort through something like
yeah,
that?
you
I
just
mean, how do
well,
you get 100 applicants and think, let me find the best one out of 100? That's a process,
and the problem is that I would say, the good old Pareto principle, 80-20, right?
right?
80% is just gonna be completely irrelevant to the job, right?
So
And
many parallels between what you do and
yeah,
the insurance
and then
market. We
the
use the Pareto principle too,
yeah.
only it's more like 70-30 on our
Yeah.
side.
And maybe it's 70-30, maybe it's 60-40, but there's going to be a lot of noise, right? And then
Yeah.
so but that noise is getting in the way of actually giving due consideration to those that are well qualified for the role. And then additionally, most jobs, in my opinion, do require that a recruiter go out into the world and find a qualified individual to bring them into the process. And so guess what? They're not doing that because they're too busy reviewing all of these applications of unqualified individuals. And the robots are not there isn't especially I could speak to the insurance industry, and maybe with the exception of like Amazon and Google, there are not robots reviewing applications. Human beings are.
Well, we
And
turn into robots sometimes.
yeah, and they're clicking through.
Sorry, Jacob. That's enough for now. We'll pick up with you later. Right now, I want listeners to hear from our next guest, Layla Atia, CEO of Zella International. Layla is a Ukrainian transplant in DC, and I am so excited to share her passion with you incubating babies. But it's not what you think. You'll just have to listen. What is
And
Zella International?
so Zella International, we essentially I founded the company 5 years ago on the premise that we need to invest in insurtech, because back then a lot of carriers and a lot of large companies were trying to sort of invest internally into these sort of buzzwords like cloud, or even policy admin system was a buzzword back then. And insurtech just didn't know a lot about how carriers work. So I left the large company. I was working for a subsidiary of Marsh and McLennan, left, founded Zella, hired few engineers, trained them in insurance. We closed one insurtech, and then from then on.
When you say train them in insurance, what do you mean by that?
So in the past, we were working with a lot of outsourced companies that were coming from all around the globe, and insurance is a very different animal elsewhere. It behaves differently. People just don't understand how insurance works. I mean, leave the cultural aspect as well out of it. It just behaves in a very different way. And so there were a lot of outsourced companies that I personally worked with here in the US that just didn't know what they were working on. It took them 6 months to learn what an endorsement was. And
Lady is
so,
speaking my language right now.
yeah, there you go. There you go. Like we were, and we wasted a lot of money on great products, but it just took way too long. So I was so fed up, because I have a data scientist background. I was so fed up with wasting money, and I just founded Zella, hired engineers, opened an academy inside of the company, trained all of my engineers in insurance.
Is that academy still going
Yeah,
today?
yeah. It's internal. So like we have tech and insurance. So like if we work with cyber liability companies, my guys probably know cyber insurance better than the founders that are reaching out, that are hiring us. If it
She
is,
is the
yeah.
epitome. This whole conversation is the epitome of a course that we built. So the podcast is just the fun thing that we do. Our parent company, the Risk and Insurance Education Alliance, we do insurance education. We've done that for 50 years. And we just built an introductory course for insurtech professionals to learn micro
Thank you.
pieces of this.
Thank you.
Like you are the sales pitch for why this course will work for
Yeah.
technologists. Now,
Yeah.
it's not the end all be all, it definitely doesn't go into cyber liability and all of that kind of stuff. But thank you for your
But-
work.
But I mean, thank you. No, seriously, because for me, like I'm a CEO of a company. I need to take care of compliance, legal, resources. I do not want to be sitting there and trying to figure out which courses to put together. Like when I was trying to come up with a course for the academy, I was looking for resources. I mean, where do we look for resources? I mean, are we going that deep to get some CE courses that are developed for insurance professionals and try to teach developers the same thing? I mean, it's just counterintuitive. So what I'm saying is I probably like from now on will just review your courses, and I'm like, you know what? Somebody did this for me. Like you need to now take that, because
Yeah.
there's a very fine line between me as an insurance professional teaching insurance and like going into the weeds and things that nobody cares about.
What part of
Enough
insurance do
knowledge.
people not care about?
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that one. So when you say incubator, like the first thing that comes into my head is taking care of babies. You are taking care of your babies.
Yes.
I love it. Tell me how you got into this space. You told me before we sit down that you're from Ukraine.
Yeah.
And now you are based out of DC. What does
Yeah.
that journey look
Oh,
like for
that's
you?
that's a pretty crazy journey. I don't think
That
a lot
sounds
of
like a crazy journey. Like not only a transition to DC, but then you had a prior life before insurance.
Yes. And it's interesting because when you ask people how they sort of ended up in insurance, I don't think you are going to meet one person who'll say, "Oh, you know what?
It was on purpose.
My
I love
classmates,
it.
like I wanted to be an astronaut, I wanted to be a president, and I wanted to be an insurance underwriter."
What
Like, I
did you
don't
want to
think it's
be?
I wanted to be an astronaut.
You wanted
Yeah.
to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to be an astronomer. And
Oh,
now
there
we're
you
here
go.
at ITC and there's planets all over the
I
place.
know,
It
I
was
know,
meant for
that's
us.
awesome. So the story is that my background is actually in I even don't know, like let's say risk management and mitigation. And so I work in the Middle East most of my life as a risk manager. We were developing models to predict all sorts of fun stuff. And so I worked with USAID, UN organizations, and then I just ended up here. And my family said, well, you know what? Maybe the Middle East is not really where we want to hang out for the next 10 years.
Mhm.
So maybe you should sort of pursue something else. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired, really. I'm tired of all like seeing all the craze and like geopolitical craze of that area. And I'm like, what's the next thing? Like, what a professional in my industry would do next? Of course, insurance. So I was
Of
like,
course.
it's like
Naturally.
naturally, yes.
Why not?
That just shows that I didn't know a lot about insurance back then because I thought that like underwriting is like such a sophisticated thing. We're gonna just look, analyze, due diligence. Well, little did I know back then, right? And then I just learned, and it truly fascinates me.
There's a lot to learn. I think that's
That's
what
yeah.
really hooks me in insurance is once you think you've learned something, there's
There's something
something
new.
else to yep, there's
Yeah.
something else to learn.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending
And then you
cycle.
learn, and then you actually meet the people that been in the industry for 40 years, and they just laugh in your face. They're like, haha, you think you know it. Great.
I don't think you will ever fully understand the scope of the insurance
Yeah.
industry.
I've learned, you know what? I feel like actually like a week ago, I think I had an aha moment because I woke up one day and I realized that after 5 years of working with people, building insurance companies, building MGs, creating programs, not just the tech part of it, right? But like building really cool insurance programs, I realized that it's only now that I realized what I'm doing. Like it took me 5 years
5 years.
to
So
learn.
3-year mark was mine where I finally felt comfortable with the knowledge base that I had at the time.
Well,
But I mean, it takes a minute.
so yeah, well, now I've been in the insurance industry for what, 10 years developing the programs, but from like inception of my company, I feel like when you have your own baby and then you're incubating babies, like it's like a lot of
Incubating
times
babies.
it's like you don't know what you're doing, okay? Because every single team is different, every startup is different. Everybody has this great idea that nobody ever implemented before, right? I
Right.
mean, and sort of like you have to deal with the personalities and then also with the opportunities and then not just the products, but you have to think how are you going to convince the legacy companies to accept what
So
your
many hurdles.
babies came
What your
up with
Ah, what's a proud mama moment for your incubating babies?
I think so I have this company, and I think the proud moment is when I realized that I had personally all the network and the power to influence the future of a company
Mm.
where I could truly scale them, not because they were my clients, but because I truly believed in what they were doing. And I think that's actually the difference, right, between larger companies and companies like mine because we are very boutique. Like I have my heart and mind in every company that is with me. Like there were moments when my clients they didn't have funding and they came to me and they were like, Layla, we can't pay you. We have to close the company because like we just can't pay. And I was like, you know what? You have 12 months. Go close funding. We will push through. And they did. And that is the proud moment. That's the moment that, when you realize that you have a purpose.
That's fantastic. Okay, I so enjoyed getting to know Layla and her journey in the risk and insurance industry. So let's focus on journeys for a moment. I asked a couple of attendees to give me 3 to 5 steps on how they achieved their current position. Our guests for this are Chris Klein with the Big Eye Agents Council for Technology, followed by Paul Howard, founding partner of Howard Law and Policy Group. 5 steps or less. How'd you get here?
5 steps or less. So I'm here leading an insurance agency, trade associations, council, and technology. My degree and the way I started my career is as a graphic designer.
What?
So I was a fine art major. So 5 steps might be really, really hard.
You're going to need more.
But I will try to honor the ask. I'm going to use my fingers, right? Because I can only count to 5. No, in all sincerity, I'm a creative and I'm still involved in the arts, authored a book. I still love to blog and journal, and I'm a musician, but I wanted to create, and I went to school to be a graphic designer and thought that's what I was going to do. And so that's not step 1, that's step 0, right? So now the first step was,
that one doesn't count?
no, because that's where we start.
Okay, so now we're counting.
Now we'll count, right?
Okay.
I'm doing that only because it's hard for me to be brief.
I got
Brevity
it.
is not a strength. But I was looking for an internship and just a place to go practice what I was learning in school, and that was not going well. This university was trying to do a co-op program. Then my faculty advisor pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I got a colleague who does some teaching some night classes here, who leads a graphics department at an insurance company. Would you be interested in the connection?" I'm like, "I will be interested in anything that I can do graphic design and make money over the summer."
Okay.
And that internship became a 30-year career at Westfield Insurance.
Okay.
So I started off, that company had a full team of like 7 or 8 graphic designers and a fully in-house printing facility.
And okay.
So that's how I got into insurance. I had an opportunity then to start working on some products. So it was recognized relatively early that I could think a little bit differently. And within 18 months, they pulled me aside and said, "Hey, we're looking to expand our marketing department, which would be on the insurance side." So I really chewed on that for a while and took a leap to go through the company basic school, which was like a graduate development program, and a lot of large organizations do, to help really give you the technical chops through the
Sure.
lens of that organization. So I did that and worked in the marketing department for a while, and that's really where I got
That's where
sort
you
of the
learned
full
it.
dose, or the starting of the full
And
dose.
you fell in love, and here we are.
I did, right? And it was just a number of different things along the way. So I'll sort of maybe just condense steps 2 and 3 together, but that created opportunities uh, to lead a team in the marketing world, and get exposed to the product management side of things and a lot of the back office operations. It was called staff operations back then. But marketing was, at the time, it was a part of that because it was really just a product promotion thing. And it was a very senior leader who took me under his wings, became a phenomenal mentor.
Found a mentor.
Go find a
Key
mentor.
component.
Yeah, and some of those happen organically. Some of those can be appointed. Some of them,
I hear it's like dating.
it's a
You
little.
got to find the right one.
You
Swipe
can't.
left or swipe right.
That's it. But I also would say too, at that point in time, I started to have mentors, even if they didn't know they were my mentor, because I started to observe behaviors of people senior to me in the organization that were more visible and around the company and
Okay.
the things they were doing.
Mentoring and observation.
Yeah, and
Alright.
so you could start to think like, I really like the way that person carries themselves, the
Yes.
decisions they make, and how they bring in external factors. And so at the time, I'm going to leave all sort of commentary about anyone's faith on the table, but there was the trend of the bracelets that would say WWJD. And I had a mentor at the time. I'll say his name. His name was Rick Neese.
Nice.
Still is Rick Neese, by the way.
What's up, Rick?
He
Was still is.
just a phenomenal person of integrity. I worked for him for a while, but when he retired, I pulled him aside and I said, "I know we had a relationship, but he was a mentor of mine from afar because I always observed how he handled complex situations when things didn't really go well and how he had treated the good times."
Yeah.
And I just had this internal mantra when things got funky for me, especially when I was out in the field as a sales rep, marketing rep, dealing with agencies, taking it on the chin. How would Rick handle this? What would Rick Neese do?
What would
And-
Rick need
And
to
I
do?
still will kind of echo that in my mind today.
Yeah. All right.
So that's a big one. One more real step. So,
Okay, one more.
yeah. So, and then later in my career, having gotten to do some of those things, I learned that I love to build. And where I really got into this space, in 2013, the company did a pretty seismic reorg and launched a brand new distribution management strategy.
Okay.
And we built a team from scratch. And I was a part of that leadership team and got an
Okay.
opportunity to get really immersed into a lot of the things in the industry that most people don't even know happen. Trade associations, large events like this. So I had some of those key relationships and strategic partnerships in my purview. And that really, really opened my mind up to how vast and how many like very unique sort of coexisting universes there are in this industry.
Yeah.
And if you just follow your interests, you learn, you develop.
So, like I said, I started out working on Capitol Hill. I was interested in politics.
Okay.
I came down here, worked for a senator.
Degree in politics?
No, actually, my degree was in history.
Okay.
So I'm not
What
totally
is that,
unrelated.
like the fourth historian now? I don't know how many historians we've had on the podcast.
Well,
History majors.
I
I don't
think-
know if you can
well-
call yourself a historian if you didn't truly go into the.
I was a history major.
Right.
I read a lot of histories.
All right.
But
All right. So on Capitol Hill,
so I'm on Capitol Hill.
step one.
I
Climb
I
the hill.
realized, I thought I was a political junkie when I got down there, but then I realized soon enough, oh, actually, I guess I'm more on the wonkish side, as we say there, where I'm actually care about the policy that we're talking about and making. And I realized, oh, geez, a lot of us are 22 years old and have no idea about anything, and yet we're the ones writing.
What? 22
these.
and don't know anything?
Yeah.
Tell that to today's gen. Never mind. Stop that. Okay, keep going.
Well, when you're 22, you think you have it all figured out.
My
But-
14-year-old thinks she has it all figured out.
Yeah.
All right.
But so I worked on the Hill for 4 years.
Okay. What's
Eh,
step 2?
Step 2 was going to a law firm. I worked at a law firm, but I wasn't a lawyer yet.
Okay.
I went to law school at night while staying employed
Okay,
at that
so
firm.
found an interest, got the education. What's
Got
step
the
3?
education. The step 3 was, step 3
Took a
was
leap of faith. You're a
we-
founder.
Yeah, well, that's not that's step 4. Step 3.
All right, we can go 4 steps or less.
Step 3 is build up the client base. I wouldn't have taken the leap if I didn't
If
know
you didn't have the confidence.
if I didn't have the confidence
Nice.
that the clients that I had been working with for in some cases 20 years.
All right, so
uh,
step 1,
would come
find an
with me.
interest.
Right.
Step 2, get the education.
Yeah.
Step 3, gain the confidence.
Yeah.
Step 4, do the thing.
Do the thing.
Do
That's
the
right.
thing. I love
Yeah.
it. Okay, I'm a little tired of talking shop, so let's pivot to our celebrity spotlight. Former NFL player and current entrepreneur and motivational speaker, Marcus Ogden. This one is a little quirky, but was a whole lot of fun. I'm ready for you to hear from Marcus about embracing a mindset of change. I have with me right now Marcus Ogden, 6th round pick of the 2003 NFL draft. But you were 1st round pick for ITC, right?
That'll work well. So that's you're talking what, 21 years ago? Golly,
That's the year I graduated high school.
time flies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 22 at the time.
You're a geriatric millennial. Did you know that?
No, I don't really like that. I'll just take I'm either like Gen X, I don't know.
No. So
See?
Google says you were born in 80.
Correct.
Is that then you're a millennial, my man.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
You are a geriatric millennial. How's that feel?
Could be worse. It could always be worse.
All right. ITC is kind of a technology conference focused on insurance. What do you know about insurance?
So I used to have a construction company, and we kind of bought a lot of insurance to like our equipment. We had like dozers, excavators, all that kind of stuff. But as far as like the business side of insurance, I don't know, but I do know business in general. But I use a lot of insurance in my construction company and my other companies I own now. So I know about like policies, what you need it for, why you do it. But as far as the other side, nah.
Yeah. What do you need it for then?
So something happens to you, you get yourself paid, get insured. You know what I mean? If you don't have insurance, you can't get paid when stuff breaks.
So the official answer is to protect your current and future assets. Do you protect your assets?
At this point, yes.
Okay, awesome.
I
Yeah. So down the hall, you were telling me that you opened up ITC Agents Day
Mhm.
and you had a lady approach you and say your message was just what she needed.
Mhm.
What was it? To light a fire or get her
So-
ass in gear?
get her-
Wait, can I say that on a podcast?
That's
Okay.
on you to get her a blank in gear. Yes, she told me that. Yes.
I just got the thumbs up, so we're good.
Okay. Well, look, man.
To
hey,
get it in gear, what was the message that you gave that got it in gear?
we talked about mindset. We talked about how mindset is 95% of everything. And if you don't have it, you're not going to make it. Like, again, great quote by Bruce Lee. Don't tell your mind negative thoughts in a joking manner because your body can't tell the difference. So if you don't have the right mindset to keep going when times are hard, like it's challenging times right now. We have the election coming up. We got prices increasing.
No politics on this podcast.
I say it coming up. That's not that's not politics. That's just
Listen.
that's the reality. We got politics though, election, price increase, food increase. I mean everything. So,
Yeah.
but you can't control that.
Right.
But unfortunately, it caused a lot of challenging times for people. But challenge doesn't mean impossible.
Okay.
So I talked about how you got to have this up here and keep going. Because if you don't have this, this will eventually break down.
All right. So statistically speaking, 80% of whatever you said in your session, nobody's going to remember. What do you hope they took out of your session?
I hope they took out of it.
Especially for insurance agents, because that was 100% geared towards like the independent agent channel.
So I hope they really got, in order to really be successful, they have to be able to pivot. And I hope they really got that, because a lot of people, me included, I don't like change. It's hard. I got to get like new softwares, new apps, all this stuff. And when I get that, boss, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. But if I don't do it, then we can't stay ahead. So I hope people got like how to pivot and be innovative.
That's the second time you've said pivot. Chandler Bing or Ross Geller?
Oh, I'm Team Ross.
Team Ross, Team Chandler. Man.
Of course you would go Team Chandler. Of course you would.
What makes you think I would go Team Chandler?
I mean, I don't know. Because I went Ross, I was usually going to go Chandler.
You know what? That's probably actually true. I
probably
would have said Ross if you had
exactly. Yeah, I was like, it was a no win for me. I was like, if I were going to say, she's going to say the opposite. So I like Ross. I mean, Ross was like that
level-headed,
that good, wholesome,
intelligent.
Took care of his sister kind of guy. You know what I mean? Chandler was more of a
freewheeling.
Yeah, I mean, he
anything
was just
goes.
Yeah, I mean, so
knew
Ross,
how to pivot.
So Ross is my guy.
Football player, entrepreneur, not an insurance professional. I questioned what that guy had to offer a room full of agents, but from what I heard, he delivered the right message at the right time and sparked motivation in many. Another thing that will spark motivation in many is job security. Since I've started in the insurance industry, I've heard that the independent agent was going to be replaced. Nearly 20 years later, it hasn't happened yet. But AI is bringing another round of uncertainty. So I just had to ask about the elephant in the room while at ITC. What job role do you think will be replaced by AI in 10 years? For this round of guests, we hear from Chris Klein and Paul Howard again, followed by Alex DePazzo, Vice President of DePazzo and Associates Insurance Agency.
This is the kind of stuff that gets stones thrown at you when you go to.
There are no stones here. I do have cement and some hand sanitizer.
But I assume your podcast
careful.
gets a lot of listeners, and somebody will be like, that Klein guy said my job's gone. I think, without naming titles specifically, roles that do very routine data entry or have a very short shelf life.
Okay.
That don't necessarily.
You're being very careful with your words.
I am. So, because I think the way that
roles that are strictly data entry.
Yeah.
So diversify your skill set.
Yes. Understand why you're entering the data, what happens with the data when it's done, where does it come from, how can you start to understand and bring insights from the data that you're partnering? Because I think that's
how you pivot out of just the strict data entry. So
and it's just acting why. I mean, if I had just stayed focused on being a graphic designer, I would have. I mean, as the company realized those were roles to outsource.
Yeah. Have you seen some of the graphic designs that come out of AI though? They have like 6 fingers and their eyes are kind of tilted to the. So graphic designers are still a little safe.
They're still
safe. Now.
They're safe, right? So a lot of the routine, mundane tasks, I think, call intake, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, the real basic kind of things. That'll be fascinating to see. I think there will be roles that are more even in sort of the white collar, even college educated spaces that could be impacted. So you think about, like, we're really only a couple of years in the functional language models being available to all of us. And think about what that journey has been like since November of 22, when I think OpenAI hit the public streets. Now fast forward 5-10 years, and paralegals, for example, that just compare and read like copious amounts of language and case law and contracts and try to discern what's in them and find the nuance. Is it foolproof today? No. Will it be better in 10 years? Yes. But that stuff can be done in minutes versus days and days and days and days.
Yeah.
And so the way I like to think about that is those roles will go away, but I think there'll be new roles that emerge. And so that's the optimism when I think about AI.
Unless case law is being written by AI and whatever we want to say about whatever judge,
our previous guest said that he thinks that paralegals will be replaced by AI in 10 years or less.
That I
Ooh,
I
he
have
just
too
got
much-
somber. Did you see
Well,
that
I have
face?
too much respect for some of the great, fantastic paralegals that I've worked with.
He said stones
over
would
the-
be thrown. That looked like a stone coming out of your face. If I had to ask you the
Yep.
same question that I asked him, in 10 years, what roles do you think would be, or role, let's just go with one, would be replaced by AI?
Well, sadly, we're already seeing legal secretaries, and this is long before AI.
Wow.
The legal secretaries have been, as people like me who knew how to type coming out of high school.
Kids today don't know how to type.
Yeah.
They don't even
But
have typing class
I know.
anymore. Oh
I
my
know.
gosh.
I actually think my high school typing class was, with no disrespect to all of my other teachers who I loved, I think my high school typing class was one of the most valuable classes.
You heard it here on Awkward Insurance. Bring typing back into the schools.
Yeah, no, there are definitely going to be roles that are going to be not necessarily replaced, but definitely shifted, right? So, I have a pitch that I put to quite a few different companies in here with AI of saying what I would like to see as an agent and what I think would be valuable to help my CSRs be more efficient in the work that they're doing. And I don't see anybody building the thing I'm talking about. And so there's the research portion of what we do. If you have a human being doing that research, AI is going to do that research for you infinitely faster and at a fraction of the cost of having a human being actually doing that.
Sounds to me like we all need to ensure that we're diversifying our skills and ensuring that our soft skills not only stand out, but bring human value. But there's more. While thinking about this question, I happened to walk by the Salesforce booth and saw the words Agent Force, the AI agent. Naturally, I had to know, is this what's going to be replacing independent agents? Let's hear from Tina Jacoby, a strategic solutions specialist with Salesforce, and find out. Awkward Insurance is at ITC. I am very excited about my guest right now. I tracked her down yesterday. She ghosted me. And then I tried to find her again, and she wasn't. But then Garrett Droege, one of my favorite people in the world with his big, beautiful brain, and he's going to laugh at me when he hears that, he said, I had to talk with you guys. So who do I have with me right now?
I am an industry solution specialist with Salesforce.
Industry solutions specialist. That's a lot of words.
It
For
is.
what does that mean?
What that means is I help our team of solution engineers, which are folks who go out and help customers understand how Salesforce can help meet some of their technical challenge and business challenges with some technical capabilities.
Okay.
And so they build demos, they talk to customers about products and like getting the tech specs about how stuff works.
Okay, fantastic. One reason why Garrett said I needed to talk to you guys, and as I was doing some light research, not knowing who you were before, I think this is the most unprepared for a podcast I've ever been. So we're going to see if we can pull some gold out of this. What I found on your website said something like Agent AI or AI agent, and I was immediately concerned.
Sure.
I am from the insurance industry on the independent agent side. I identify as an agent and an account manager, maybe a producer, somewhat an underwriter.
Oh, wow. All the things.
Right, all the things. Are you replacing me? Is that what that is? Agent, it said something like building AI agents.
Yeah, no,
I don't
we are,
like that.
I bet. And no, so first of all, let me just get that out. We are not replacing humans, human agents.
Convince me.
Human insurance agents. We are not
Okay.
replacing you. So let me backtrack a little bit. Agent Force was rolled out at Dreamforce a couple of weeks ago. It's our big conference. And
Lean into the cloud.
Yes, everyone in the insurance industry at Salesforce immediately said, oh no, we can't call it that. We can't say Agent Force. And it's the tagline was
Why?
humans with agents drive customer success. I'm like, you're implying that agents are not humans.
Humans with agents.
Agents.
Humans with agents or
Power-
humans with AI.
Humans with
Humans with
agents is the
AI-powered-
tagline.
Okay.
And so we're like, you can't do that. So we actually changed the tagline here for ITC, which is the first third-party conference that we went to after Dreamforce, where this was announced. And we said, you can't call it that. But the tagline is now here, humans with AI agents power success. So we're trying to draw the line there.
Our customer success. I think I remember
Yes.
seeing that. What
Customer
does that
success.
mean? Humans with AI agents.
Yeah. So we wanted to make sure that to try to ease
Yeah,
the
roll it
concern
around in my
about,
head
hey, we're
over
not replacing your humans in these roles. What we're doing is allowing AI to kind of ride shotgun and help those humans be better at their jobs, to spend more time on the jobs that we hire humans for, thinking jobs, right? We don't want them to do a lot of admin-y kind of tasks, things that we could easily automate. We want to get that off their hands and let them do the job of thinking and making decisions.
What do we need to be better at? You said you're offloading tasks so that we can be. What do you think we agents need to be better at? What's your take on that?
I don't think it's as much as a decision of agents not being good. I think it's we put a lot of things on an agent's plate
Nuh-uh.
that we don't need. Well, okay, that's good. Yeah, I think there are things
we
on
don't have
an
a lot on
agent's-
our plate. We're just trying to shovel it in one spoonful at a time.
Well, well, let me ask you. So you identify as an insurance agent.
Uh-huh.
Are there things like in your role as you're trying to sell to customers and take care of them that you're like, I should not be spending my time doing this. I want to do this thing for my customer instead.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like reconciling downloads that don't come in correctly, or the commission that might not come in and match in our CRMs, or let's talk about rating systems that don't actually give us the true rate that we need. So we end up having to go out to each carrier and re-rate anyways. There's a lot of different things that could be taken off of our plate that allow us to connect with our customers a little bit more. But my concern is that sometimes when those things are taken off of our plate, we kind of forget the underlying knowledge of where that education for our consumers comes from. And it's kind of like if you don't use it, you lose it. And it's one thing that concerns me. I love technology, but when your cell phone goes down and you can't call your daughter and she's freaking out about something and you're like, we don't have landlines anymore.
How does this thing work?
Start to like go back to when you were a child and think, how did I communicate before we had cell phones? Because now I've forgotten. That's what concerns me the most. The CrowdStrike that happened.
Yeah.
CrowdStrike took down a bunch of stuff and that halted some customer service. There's a whole large brokerage that I'm aware of that use CrowdStrike, and it just it grinds things to a halt, right? There were other people, somebody we met not too long ago, who's like, when the world came to a stop, I was like, wait, when did the world come to a stop? She was talking about her banking. She couldn't access her banking.
That's rough.
Right? So what do you do when that happens? Well, I forgot that there are bank branches that I can go to and access my. So what happens when we forget the underlying knowledge underneath the technology spot?
Well, think about these kinds of jobs. So the jobs that you described were great. Would you want to automate those? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I think it depends on the organization. Think about like how many customers do you have calling into a carrier to ask about when is my bill due? How do I get new ID cards?
Right.
When do I need to add my teen driver to the policy?
Okay.
Those kinds of things that.
But those answers vary so widely between insurance companies.
Yeah.
How does Agent Force accommodate for that? Is it kind of like a generalization of maybe when they're 14, maybe when they have
no,
maybe when they have a, what is it called, a permit, maybe when they get their license?
Yeah.
We're not really sure. You should Google further.
That's why the way that we've rolled out Agent Force, so our autonomous agents, it's grounded in your organization's information. Okay. So we make sure that we're giving it instructions and boundaries about what it can do, what it can't do, and then giving it the ability to poke into your knowledge base, your institutional understanding, your rules, your procedures, and answering questions.
Who do you use for validating that information? Do you have a team of insurance professionals behind that? That if you get a low confidence rate on an answer, they come in and coach it a little bit more? What are you doing to?
So we don't have the LLM.
Okay.
So the large language model, that's how things get processed. So we're using OpenAI, but we're structuring it and boundarying it.
This is ChatGPT for agents, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's not using the giant world of information out there. We want to make sure that we put it on rails.
Okay.
And so we're using that information that you have, that you give it, only what you give it, and making sure it stops when you say stop. For instance, we don't want to maybe quote a policy. We don't want an autonomous agent to do that quote. We want a person to talk pricing and coverages. right? Maybe you
Fantastic.
stop at that level.
Yeah.
But
So, okay.
Yeah.
I think you might have convinced me that you're not replacing my role after all. I'll keep my eye on you, though.
okay.
Okay. So, AI won't be replacing the independent agent after all. The general consensus has been that in its present state, AI is a tool that, when used ethically and responsibly, will augment our roles. But if we aren't working on sharpening our skills and tools, then maybe we do have something to worry about. As promised, our unofficial conference correspondent, Jacob Galecki, is back, but I had a very specific question to ask that had been in the forefront of my mind. After we talked about the visibility of job applications and finding out that it's not likely AI filtering you out, but an overworked hiring manager, I had to ask Jacob's thoughts on unconscious bias showing up in the hiring process. All right, Jacob, let's have it. They click through until what? They land on one that just
that might
looks
be
and feels right. And then that's where maybe some unconscious bias comes in
Oh, for
because
sure.
we're not spending enough time reviewing qualified applicants.
Yeah. But, if they were to use a robot, that robot would be trained by humans, and then it would encode and amplify their bias.
What are your
So-
thoughts on the unconscious bias in the hiring process?
What are my thoughts on the unconscious
Do you
bias?
have
I mean,
thoughts?
yeah. I mean, everyone has them. I mean, how many cognitive biases are there? Are there like well over 100? I've run into a new one every day, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And but there's not even enough.
Is there one that you find more interesting than others?
God, there's one, I don't remember the name of it, but it's called, I just call it recency bias. And so
Okay.
you're most likely to, like, if you review 10 applications, for instance, in sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, number 10 is going to like resonate the most in your mind because it was the last one that you saw.
Okay, so maybe kind of like the same thing in terms of annual reviews and crap. You might have done really great at the beginning and the middle of the year and had one flub at the end, and that's the thing that
They're gonna remember.
recency bias
Yeah.
is definitely
And that's
a thing.
negativity bias. So they're going to, you can do 100 good things and do one bad thing. You're the bad person.
Yeah.
Because you did that one bad thing.
I
and
like
it was the
that.
most
Man, we
recent.
should have started with biases in the job
Yeah. Well,
market
there's so
and,
many.
and hiring.
There's
There
so many.
really is, and it's definitely something that needs more attention. All right, I know you have a meeting to get up to, so let me wrap this up with one question. How do you exit a conversation you don't want to be a part of? I mean, networking is a total thing, so how do you do that? Jacob, where are you going? Jacob, did he just leave? Come back. Thanks for hanging out and listening to another Awkward Insurance Conversation.
If you haven't already, be sure to join the Awkward Insurance Facebook community. We have an amazing group of people on there.
And for more episodes, head over to the National Alliance website at scic.com. Now go forth and be awkward. Toodles!
That's awkward.